So this is the standard lather machine. You have a seal, which you can see is sticking out a little bit. But to take it apart, you pull this off, you turn it upside down, and there's 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then what I normally do is I put a towel down. So I put a towel down and then I roll another towel up to give myself some support right here. So it looks like yay.
Retired, I hope. Oh yeah. Suicide prevention. Really? Yeah, counselor and she worked in that stuff like that. Sure. Now she's got dogs. New husband, huh?
So if the cord is in this thing, you want to pull the cord back, and then you want to pull this thing off, and then it'll slide. And you want to normally, I take the screws out just so I don't lose them, and I kind of just put the screws everywhere together. But this will slide away from the cord, like so. So then you have 2 screws right here. Boom, right there and right there. And so So once you unscrew those screws, this will lift out of the whole housing, but you want to slide this out. And so there'll be there'll be a screw that whips up the lather, and then you'll have a tube. And in that tube, you can see that buildup in the inside of there, all this buildup. But what you need to do is you need to scrape it all out. So I scrape it out with a screwdriver, and then I have this little brush like this. And so I scrape all this out really good, and then one trick I'll do is I plug the bottom hole, and then I'll pour a little bit of water in there. I'll demo that later. But basically you get this perfectly smooth and clean and get all that buildup out of there. And then it usually fixes it. So I've scraped that out pretty good, but one little trick I do, and I cleaned off this screw. I just scraped off the stuff off of this screw. There's a bowl gasket right here. When you put the machine back together, you want to make sure that you get the bowl gasket all the way back on. And then the trick I was telling you about is I'll turn this up, and then I'll take some water, and I'll take my water bottle and basically dump it in, but you want to be careful not to get it around the sides. So I've continued to ream it out. And basically, so I finished like reaming it out, cleaning everything off. This, you want to get it as clean, as smooth as possible. Another trick, sometimes I'll take a paper towel and I'll like jam the paper towel in there, and then I'll take a screwdriver and like push it in like that, and then I'll pull it out, and just to get all the buildup. All right, if you just videotape this. So what I do is I like take my finger and I plug up this bottom hole right here, and then I carefully dump hot water into this hole until it fills up to the top, and then basically that helps. And then I just usually just let it out, the water, and that helps clean it more. So basically when you put this machine back together, this is the bowl gasket, and you want to make sure that this bowl gasket gets put on, otherwise the top of your machine will let water in. So basically you put it on and then you put this back on, and that's good. So right here, there's that little rubber seal, and you want to make sure that that's on the part that's going to be down. And then you can see I got the gasket on all the way, and then this part needs to be on the top, and you just want to tuck it back in and make sure it's over the wiring kind of. And then normally when I get this bowl covering back on, I will take this lid and I'll put it back on where it needs to be, and I'll position it on, and then I'll flip it upside down. I don't think I can videotape that part. Basically you get this thing back together and you dry fit it, and you make sure that that gasket is all the way pushed in, because if it's not all the way in and someone overfills the machine or you splash it, it'll get into the housing. So I flip the machine over, holding it firmly, and then I got my rolled towel, and so basically these screws are going to go back in. So then if you want, you can jam the cord back in that little slot and turn it back over. I always want to have it apart, like to clean as much as possible. Once your machine's kind of cleaned off, you want to make sure nothing's in the bowl. If there's anything in there, you know, while you have it apart, you might as well clean it as much as possible. So anyways, I put this back on, and now it's time to refill the machine. So I get my pre-mixed lather. If possible, you want to use distilled water unless you want to take the machine apart all the time and do this. So you fill it up, and you never fill it. You never want to fill it above this tab right here. You want to fill it just right up to that tab. And then a little trick is you take a little bit of rubbing alcohol, 70% alcohol, and you just put a little splash in. You want to put, if it's all the way empty, you want to put not more than a capful in, maybe a half a capful. If you're just refilling it or topping it off, you just want to put a small little splash, and that just keeps everything going. And then you want to plug it in, and a lot of times it needs to warm up for like a little while, a half hour or something, but you plug it in, and then when you press the button, you should get a good lather coming. Seems like a decent lather. So you put the top back on, and that's it.